Count it down.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Beerly Football Podcast. I'm your host, Zachary Smith, joined by Carrie Dempsey, Beerly Carrie, and Beerly Trev Scott. Sadly, Zach couldn't join us tonight, but we're taking on the NFC East. Going to talk some Cowboys, some Eagles, some Giants, some Commanders, but not in that order.
Does anybody want? Who even wants to talk Commanders, though? Honestly,
we'll definitely be saving them for last. Is that right?
There's got to be somebody out there, some Commanders fan. I don't even know if they existed, but there's got to be one.
Carrie, how you doing? It's been like 3 weeks. How you doing? What are you drinking?
Doing lovely. I feel like this is probably the longest stretch we've had without an episode. It's kind of shocking.
Though, wasn't it? Last Tuesday,
I know. It's kind of sad. So I got a Phase 3 brewing company. It's got a bunch of little cats on it. Isn't that cute?
That is really cute. I'm an avid cat fan.
I know. It's called a De Feline Fine. De Feline Fine. That's pretty clever. Double dry hopped, hazy double India Pale Ale. Simcoe Mosaic Strata. I got 4 of these, so they better be good. So I also got something new for the show. I got a giant beer mug. Finally. And I froze it today.
What's in there? There was something already in there.
I put it in my freezer, so there's hopefully nothing in there.
Oh shit. You can't just pour it down the middle like that, man.
Why?
We're gonna get our Beerly card revoked.
Here,
take a sip out of the can. Tell me how it is. Give me a little official beer review.
It's pretty sour IPA. I feel like I'm just so bad at telling the differences between IPAs. I don't know what it is, but every IPA just tastes very similar to me. I guess I'm not a beer connoisseur, which is probably not a good thing for being on a beer podcast. But this isn't bad IPA. It's a little more sour than I would like it to be, but
do you like light beers?
Yeah, I prefer light beers to dark beers all the time.
I mean, but if you were out on a beach on a hot day, could you drink 7 of them?
You know me. If I drank 7 beers in one day, I would be spending the entire day in the bathroom just peeing.
No, that's why you're at the beach. You could just pee in the ocean.
I guess that's true. That is true, but
could you drink 7 ultras at the beach on a sunny day?
I probably could, yes. So, yeah, I could do that. And do I even need to ask you that question if you could do it or not?
I don't think so, man. Out of just sheer knowledge, sheer respect.
I guess so.
So what would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10?
All right. First, I'll give it on a 1 to 10, just generic beer, and then I'll give it on an IPA scale. So on the generic beer, I'll give it about a 6.3. It is not bad. It is dairy-free for all you, what are the non-dairy people? Vegans or whatever they are? Yeah. But it's solid. It is out of Lake Zurich, Illinois. But it's a solid beer for an IPA. So on the IPA scale, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 on the IPA scale, but 6.3.
What percentage is it? 4 out of 5? So 8 out of 10?
It is a 7.8% on the alcohol by volume.
That's
so
I have 4 of these.
Yeah, so a couple of these should get me going tonight, honestly. What about you?
Same thing I was drinking last show. I just cut the pack in half. I had 3 the first show. I'll probably have 3 tonight. So easy to drink, dude. These Golden Road Brewing guava carts, guava and passion fruit. I just cracked this 2 minutes ago. I'm already done with it. I could probably drink hot day at the beach.
What do you
drink 14 of these, dude.
What do you taste more, the guava or the passion fruit with those?
I don't really know what passion fruit tastes like, but I definitely taste guava.
Do you don't feel passion when you drink that?
You remember that Drake song we used to play in college when we would play that game?
Do you just feel that when you start drinking it?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm feeling something.
You're feeling something.
Shout out to Zach. I wish he was here. He'd be drinking something off the wall. Zach, we miss you, man. Hope to see you back next episode. Everybody knows how dangerous it is up in Memphis, Tennessee.
He's in Memphis, Tennessee?
Nah, I just brought that up because he's in.
You should just stalk Zach Smith. If anybody's in Tennessee right now, go look for Zach. Go find him. He might not be alive. We need to bring him back.
Find Zach in Tennessee and just send me a picture of him. I'll send you $50.
I'll double that. I'll give you 100 if you could find Zach in Tennessee and you're not a Smith family member. Sorry, Zach's mom.
That's a good
yeah, I saved you there, didn't I? But yeah, someone needs to go find Zach. I really feel Beerly with this glass, honestly. Like
the big ones that I had.
Big ones?
It looks very similar.
I don't think so.
It feels good drinking out of those. Seriously, I also have a goblet, which I said I was going to.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Every episode, and I drink from it for like 3 episodes, and I don't even know where it's.
No, I literally feel like I feel like a Viking or something. Like
a what?
I feel like a Viking. Like I'm about to go like storm the villages.
You should have a drink out of my goblet one day. I'll bring it down to Fort wherever you live. Can I say that or no?
I don't care. I feel like we've probably said that on the show a lot of times.
I'll give somebody else $50 if they go back and find this. On another episode, Gary actually leaked. He was so drunk he leaked his address. He said, "Come fight me."
Did I?
You did. Zach tried to cut you off a few times, but you did. You said
there's been some crazy. There's been some crazy times in this show. If you've listened to this podcast, you should know.
We're gonna have a crazy season. We got a lot of stuff planned for you guys for the regular season. So as long as you're taking the long haul with us through these months like May and June, it'll be well worth it in the regular season. We got a lot of fun stuff planned. As far as the NFC East, while we wait for our first guest, let's talk about how it finished up last year. I think there hasn't been a repeat winner in this division in a long ass time. Of course, there's a number for that. I don't know the numbers, so I'm gonna just say a long ass time. Last year, the Cowboys did it at 12-5. They had some key losses, though. We can't even talk about that right now. We can't. All right. Well, last year Dallas was 12-5. They won the division. Philly had a shaky second half of the season. They were second at 11-6. The Giants were 6-11 with all their woes.
Actually, I want to skip this. We can go in the NFC bit. I don't know if you saw I don't know if it was a tweet or podcast from CJ Stroud where he lifted his top 5 quarterbacks. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah. He had Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud,
Dak, and Hurts.
I think was it Hurts or sure?
The first one had Hurts, and I saw the one that he went back and put in Allen, I think.
It was Josh Allen and Dak, yeah.
But the original one, he had Hurts in there.
I didn't even see the Hurts.
Over Allen. Yeah. Do you think there's two top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, in the NFC East?
Do I what?
Do you think there's 2 top quarterbacks in the NFL, 2 top 5 quarterbacks that are both from the NFC East? And one of them is Daniel Jones?
I just recently made my quarterback rankings, which as soon as Twitter gets better, start putting some more content on there. But right now, Twitter is struggling. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Beerly Football. Interact with us. Post tweets a lot of day. Carrie finally let me back on the account. Thank God.
Sadly.
So we're gonna be seeing some banger tweets on there. We might see some leaked pictures at 2:00 in the morning. If you're
wow.
Turn the noties on. You never know what's gonna get posted.
Some Justin Herbert slander.
Just kidding.
Trevor, I feel like you look tired. I feel like have you shotgunned a beer in a while?
Have I shotgunned a beer when?
In a while? I feel like you need one.
No, I don't like shotgunning beers because they're too
wow. But they're
carbonated, bubbly.
Are those even beers? It's just guava, passion fruit, whatever they are.
It's just too bubbly. You give me a twisted tea or a Surfside or something in a can that's not super carbonated, I'll suck that thing down in 5 seconds. We're getting so off topic here. Forgot our first guest is here.
I guess we are.
Shout out to El Jefe at Jefe PIL on X or Twitter, whatever you call it. We're gonna dive into the New York Giants, and we're glad to have you here. Thanks for coming on the show.
What's up, boys? I joined just for the shotgunning conversation, and I've converted to these Surfside. I got a Sun Cruiser right here.
Ooh,
it just goes down early as I'm getting older. The beers just don't feel as good anymore. I used to drink 16 beers and just be fine. And now it's just too much, you know?
Right. The Surfsides are from up there, right? Are they from Philly?
The Surfsides, I don't know. If I knew they were from Philly, I wouldn't have been drinking them this whole time.
Yeah,
Don't take that to the bank or anything.
They
They're
just
good.
like
Keep
popped
it
up
going.
out of nowhere too. It's pretty weird. It's like one day Surfsides are this huge thing. Just how like the seltzers popped up a few years back.
Yep. Now,
That's like, honestly, because I've been from Florida my whole life. That's like Wawas. Like, those are still pretty new to me, and like I meet people from up north. They're like, we've been going there since I was a kid. But Wawa is great. Shout out to Wawa.
All right, before we get into Giants, where can people find you? Not your address or anything, but on social media, anything you want to plug before you get going? Or you can give your address if you want to. You know,
I'll hold off on that for now. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jefepil, Jefepil, and I am part of New York Revival. Just like it sounds, we're easy to find. And me and my two friends, we do a show it's New York sports, but it's entertainment and it goes off the rails pretty regularly. So it's just whatever the show needs to be, that's what we do. But we're having a lot of fun doing it. And I do these. I don't know how to describe. Maybe they're just comedy sketches, and I've just started doing these things for the Giants fans a couple of years ago, and I'm still doing them now. I'm branching off, including the Rangers and Knicks a little bit, but I'm just having a lot of fun with it. And whatever idea comes to mind, I just try to make it into a ridiculous video for people.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and it was a pretty good time to be a Knicks fan a couple weeks ago.
not a great time to be a Rangers fan, though, sadly.
I know. Overall, obviously not, but like they gave us a really fun couple weeks. I think the Knicks probably overachieved with all the injuries, and the Rangers, it was clearly like a Stanley Cup or bust kind of year. Like if not now, when is how it feels, and just like what a fuck. Can I curse on here or no?
Go ahead.
What a fucking depressing ending to an otherwise fun season.
Man, they were looking like a wagon going into that series. Not to get too far into hockey, but
I know.
Florida's just different this time of year.
Fuck, man, I feel like it happens every year. Like they've been relevant. It feels like for 8 years. It feels like they're a playoff team every year, but then they just fall off at the end, and they just don't look like themselves anymore. So we're not here to talk about hockey, though. I don't think.
Yeah, if you are,
podcast, though.
yeah, check out Beerly Hockey.
We do have the Beerly Hockey podcast. Shout out to Phil, Nate, and Aaron.
All right, I'm gonna hit them up and hop on there and talk some Rangers then.
Go for it. All right, I want to start it off. I feel like I can't find anyone anymore on Giants Twitter anywhere that supports Daniel Jones still. Everybody wants him gone. Do you have any faith left in the man?
Shit. There are fans out there. They are out there, and they will never bend or break. I call them the DJ Truthers. There's other names for him out there. I don't want to go there, but there are people who swear by him still. And I think most of their cases, he's been dealt such a bad hand in his career. You never got to see him have this, and this. And it's just like I've never seen a player get a longer leash than Daniel Jones in terms of, bring him back, run it back, try to fix this. At the end of the day, I don't think he's a guy that'll lead the Giants to a Super Bowl. But as a Giants fan, the only good season we've had in the last decade, was led by him in 2022. But when you really look at it closely and you look at all of his other work, I just don't think he's the guy that's going to put us over the edge no matter what's around him.
So stemming off that, without mentioning statistics, which, might be a little hard, might need some time to think, but in a different lens, what would Daniel Jones have to do for Giants fans to be like, at the end of this year, he's still the guy moving forward? We don't want to see a backup. We don't want to draft another guy. Let's stick it out with Danny one more year.
Yeah, not even to go down stats. I think to convince the majority of fans, because you'll never convince everybody, because just as there are people who swear by him, there are people who just hate him no matter what. He would have to have an edge about him and a confidence about him and lead vocally, have more confidence when he speaks. You know what I mean? Like, you've seen the interviews. The guy just is not comfortable in his own skin. So when you're not playing great football and then you're on the mic stuttering and you don't know what are we supposed to hang on to at that point?
I did see the beard. He's growing out a beard though, so I really want to see him keep that out. I feel like, new personality, new Daniel.
I have publicly endorsed that beard as well. I hope he keeps that, and he needs to take shots. He needs to not be afraid. He needs to make quicker decisions. I don't know if it's possible to do all that. I'm pretty much asking him to be a different person as I keep going. So like he needs to be able to read defenses better and know where he's going with the ball, audible out of shit. Like we don't see that from him at all. He stares down his first receiver, his first look constantly. That's his thing all the time. He still does it.
Did you see that throw today though on Twitter?
I did. He was in shorts and it was great. I mean, how many times is Isaiah Hodgins running free 40 yards away? I mean, any NFL quarterback, you guys and myself, could probably do that in shorts. And if they put it in slow-mo and put some music behind it.
That's what I was going to say. It was one of those OTA videos that was in slow motion and it only goes to the ball.
I was waiting for it to turn to like a roll of toilet paper.
But, yeah. So I heard today at the OTAs, the offense has 0 turnovers. So I don't know how much you read into that, but at least a positive sign.
It's better than bad news. It's better than 7 turnovers. Like I try not to look into it too much because I went to camp twice last year, and that was coming off of the playoff win in Minnesota season, right? So like we came off a good year. We got Dable, this amazing coach. We're headed in the right direction. So like I drank the Kool-Aid last offseason, went to camp. Darren Waller, the word being thrown around was unguardable, and I'm guilty of it. I saw him. He was not guardable. Turns out it's just because it was against the Giants secondary. But like the offense was humming. Daniel Jones looked different, all of that. And then you get to the regular season and look what happened. So like I'm not buying into anything I see in practice anymore.
I know.
But spin-off question.
Oh, wait.
No, this is more important. No. Yeah, we're asking the same thing.
We're going to circle back to Darren Waller. Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on those Darren Waller raps?
I think the first one was Booty Cheeks, and I was so inspired by how bad it was that I made a spoof video of it the next day. It's pinned to my profile if you want
to check that out.
If you want to check it out. And it's so auto-tuned and it's like kind of depressing watching it because it's like so clear what he's going through. And if you've ever been through that, it's like, fuck, like I don't want to watch this anymore. And it's bad all around. I thought his second one admittedly was better than the first one, which was easy to beat. But I don't know, man. I don't know if the Giants are being nice by not cutting him because he might be in a fragile state, which he clearly
I feel like he's gone. I don't. Do you think there's any way he plays for the Giants this year?
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he do it already then?
I know.
I heard that they're expecting him to retire in the next week, but do you guys even want him back at this point? I mean, you got Bellinger, and then the tight end you took in the draft out of Penn State. What's his name? Theo Johnson?
Yeah.
He looks good.
He does look good. And I just got off of the New York Revival show where we were just talking about, like, do you actually want him back? And I'm at the point where I'm ready to turn the page. Like it was a good idea in theory because we didn't have an elite wide receiver, but he in his career has been an elite weapon, right? He had very good years, getting a little older, some injuries, but they took a risk. They were trying to get more weapons. So like I understand in theory, I'm not going to shit on the move to get him, but he ultimately was not what you wanted. And now if that was him all in and now he's not all in, then why would you want to do that? Like I'm ready to turn the page. We get $11 million or something if he doesn't come back at this point. It's like at that point, we need that money to operate, right? I think we have less than $1 million in cap space. Like Giants we have projected to be the second worst roster in the league with no cap space, which is very special.
I feel like the only games he was even good last year was when Tyrod Taylor was playing too.
Yep, goes back to a Daniel Jones. It always goes back to Daniel Jones, right? Which is part of being a Giants fan.
Well, speaking of the big new flashy toy weapon, Malik Neighbors, were you happy with that pick or were you one of the quarterback guys?
I was hoping they were going to find a way to get the quarterback, and by that I mean move up to 3 and get your Drake May. Mm-hmm. Once it played out the way it did, I think it was the right move because he's a blue chip prospect. I think it's maybe the position that translates the easiest to the pros in terms of this guy is this fast, athletic, can run routes. That's going to translate. Whereas quarterback, there's so many things that go into it. Whereas a receiver, if the guy can really, really play, he can usually play in the NFL too. I mean, there's obviously misses at times, but I think that at that point it was a surefire pick, and I did want a quarterback, but I'm glad they didn't reach for somebody that could have been Daniel Jones 2.0, and at least they got that X receiver that the Giants haven't had since Odell left. So I think it was the right move.
And you
They're
guys
setting up for that next quarterback too. Like they have some other good, they're not great receivers, but good supplementary guys. I do really like Jalen Hyatt. I feel like with a better quarterback, he could develop a lot more. And Darius Slayton's always been good. Wan'Dale Robinson. So it's not like they got a decent receiver core, which Giants have had an issue ever since OBJ and Victor Cruz back in the day.
On paper, there's a ton of speed there. Jalen Hyatt is crazy fast. And but it didn't amount to anything, right? You didn't find a way to get him the ball enough. And you watch these other offenses and rookies come in and just make an impact right away. And the Giants just don't do that. So is it because the offensive line is that bad? And it is. But can the quarterback help this at all? Can the quarterback make anybody better around him so that these receivers can actually go off a bit? Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, is a really, really good player. But nobody on offense gets sustained opportunities because of the offensive line play and the quarterback play. So it's like you don't know if it's the chicken or the egg here.
All right. We're going to do something a little different. We're going to go rapid fire on these questions for you. So quick answer. Don't want you to think too much. Just first thoughts right off the top of your head. All right. Giants, best move of the offseason.
Brian Burns. Easy.
Yeah.
Worst move of the offseason.
Letting Saquon walk for nothing.
All right. Grade the Giants draft class so far. It's heading into the year.
B-.
Team MVP for 2024.
Dexter Lawrence.
One surprising and one disappointing player for 2024.
One surprising and one disappointing. I think Banks, our second-year cornerback, is going to be a surprise, and I think he's going to rise to like a top-tier level cornerback, and I think he's going to start to have that. I hate that I almost said Revis Island, but like that kind of guy that like you could just trust him. You know what I mean? You could just trust him. That was so. I hated that it was in my head, but then once it was there, I had to say it. But I like that. I think that he's got a super high ceiling. A disappointment. I'm going to say Evan Neal, who is our right tackle, who out of a 7th overall pick was supposed to be just an absolute staple, and he has done nothing but struggle. So I'm just going to say that might just be who he is, unfortunately.
And do you think their line is going to be much better to year? Obviously, they added a couple of veterans like Runyon, Elmore, and they have young guys like Thomas and Smith. Although Thomas has been there now, but you think it'll be much better this year? I mean, I remember, was it the Seahawks game last year when Daniel Jones was absolutely getting destroyed against that? Who was the Giants O-lineman they brought back that hadn't played in like a couple of years?
Justin Pugh.
Yeah, it was like, what? You think he hired for their line this year?
I know his funny. We actually talked to him on Revival a couple of weeks ago, and his tagline was "right off the couch," like when they usually say the college that they went to or something. Right. But he's a good veteran leader. But I mean, again, like we're constantly having to like duct tape an offensive line together. We just never have a functional line. Injuries just crush us. So on paper, this should be the best line that the Giants have had in years, and should easily be the best line that Daniel Jones has ever played behind.
Gotcha. Well, we mentioned the first round pick a little bit. I know the second round pick, Tyler Nubin. The Giants seem to always, value the safety position. They seem to always have a good safety back there. Have you heard any good things about Tyler Nubin? How's he looking? And just a kind of question off of that, would you have matched the financial offer that McKinney received in Green Bay?
So I think the Giants have been smart about prioritizing the position in terms of drafting good ones. It's like one position where the Giants seem to draft good players, and then when they're due to get paid, they tend to move off and draft the next one, which if you're smart, that's a great way to do it. Yeah. So I'm not upset that they didn't match McKinney's offer. But again, similar to Barkley, if you knew that was a dude that you didn't want to pay, then move him at the deadline. Because in a lost season, we were like 2-7 or something at one point. Move those dudes. Get more draft picks, which is exactly what the Giants needed. Going into this draft with only 6 picks, that would have been great capital to move around and try to get more guys. So I think Nubin is a good player. From what I hear, he's having a good camp so far, nothing crazy. But I mean, it's all to be determined. I was in favor of not paying McKinney top dollar.
Gotcha.
But that's why you have to move him. Then if players that aren't part of your long-term plan, I wish Joe Shane would have been more proactive in moving those guys.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. And I got one more. Final record prediction for the Giants, and where will they finish in the NFC East game?
I still think they are fighting for third place in the NFC East.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Eagles and Cowboys are just set up. They have way better quarterback play, way better surroundings on both sides of the ball, just more established. Anything can happen, obviously. I think if we have some better luck with injuries, I see this being an 8-9 season. I don't think that's a success. I think we finished third in the NFC East, and I think Washington, until Jaden Daniels gets his legs under him and figures it out, I think the Giants will be in third place again in the NFC East.
Gotcha. And just with a quick look at their schedule after that bye week in Week 11, they got the Bucks, Cowboys, Saints, Ravens, Falcons, Colts, and Eagles. So definitely a tough task for the Giants this year. But we appreciate you coming on. We're about to have an Eagles guest on. So
well, I'm out of here then.
Yeah. I don't know how close you are.
Any last words for the Eagles?
Enjoy Saquon Barkley.
Clicking on.
I hope Saquon is super healthy all year and has continued success.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Hope you have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, boys. Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
Hop is just moving slow. I'm going to pull him right now.
All right, we got David here, contributor for Philadelphia SN and Metro Philly. How are we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. How you guys doing? I just caught the tail end the last 5 minutes there. We hope Saquon stays healthy and has a very productive season as well.
Yeah, I saw. Did you see what Sirianni said today when the Giants fans would say, "Go Giants"? If they said something that stuck to him, he'd say, we got your best player.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a little much, but yeah, that's his personality, though.
Were you surprised by that signing? I feel like Philly never really goes after big guys and free agency like that, especially running backs. I mean, they've just had a running back by committee the last few years. Are you surprised
Typically,
by that?
I would have been, but there was so much smoke all off season in regards to him specifically that I did think that they had a really good chance of landing him this year. They had talked about it. They had no internal options that can do anything that he can do. It was a really weak spot on the team last year as far as DeAndre Swift really struggled in pass protection. They couldn't have a 3-down back. So it was something that was sorely missing from the offense. So I did think that they actually did have a pretty good chance of landing him.
Mm-hmm. And before you jump in anymore, wow. Before you jump in anymore,
hang on, man. I think me and Kerry made a bet about his I don't know what we put his line at. Oh no, that was Derrick Henry. But still, we were talking about his touches, how often he'll be used in the offense. So what do you think about that? Going to be like a star, or kind of just spread the ball around, let him get his when it's time?
I think he'll get more carries than DeAndre Swift did. I do think they're going to try to center him as part of the offense a little bit more than they ever had with any of the other running backs they've had the past few years, which has been mainly a committee. I think they'll also try to utilize him in the pass game some. I don't know how many rushing or receiving, if I had to put a total, but probably 1,400 all-purpose yards, if I had to guess. 17-ish, 20 carries. 17, 20 touches a game.
All right. And then before we jump into anything else more, do you have anything you want to promote where people can find you before we get more Eagles talk?
You can find everything. I put it on my X handle right there at PHL Eagle News. Everything I post, everything I write for the paper, for Philly SN or any other website, is always I post it on the Twitter handle.
All right. Here's my big thing. I was talking about this offseason with the Eagles. Obviously losing guys like Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelsey, retirements get a big thing for that locker room. Who do you think is really going to step up? And is this going to be a big loss, a team losing veteran leadership when you had such good guys like Cox and Kelsey around there?
I think losing Fletcher Cox as far as the locker room is probably the bigger loss, because I don't know how much he's going to be around the team. Jason Kelsey has been there every day as if he's still a member of the team. He is working daily with Cam Jurgens, and he just really wants to be a part of the squad. I don't know if that's a indication of anything to come if somebody goes down during the season, but he's definitely being around the team constantly. Losing Fletcher Cox, I agree with you that defensive line is very, very young. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, the guy who's got to step up there would be Milton Williams, because they don't just lose his voice, but they also lost 650 snaps. No other defensive lineman on the team had as many as Fletcher Cox did last year. And he was probably, after the first 6 or 7 weeks when Jalen Carter kind of wore down, he was probably the best defensive lineman on the team. So I do think the leadership on the defense, because it's a very young defense and you're relying on the defensive back like Darius Slay or something to be the leader there, and the wisdom of Brandon Graham. And that's about it. But as far as the offensive line, they have, in my opinion, one of the best line coaches in the game with Stoutland. And again, Kelsey's been there almost every single day.
So you think Jurgens will fit in well, too, as his replacement at center?
I do, yeah. I think they're very happy with Tyler Steen at right guard. Jurgens did have some trouble staying on the field last year, though. So, that would be the big concern, because Kelsey was an Iron Man. I mean, he missed, virtually never. So I think that would be the biggest concern. I think that they have a little bit of depth there with Matt Hennessy or something, if something was to happen to him. But they don't like shuffling the line around, like having to move Dickerson from guard to center. But I think the depth there is probably a little risky for what they normally do there, because they've signed so many veterans everywhere else along the line this year.
Mm-hmm. Well, that offensive line is going to be a huge part of their success or their demise. Hopefully their success. I like those are playing good football. But another part, Kellen Moore coming in, that's going to be just a huge difference aesthetically of the Eagles offense. I think it's going to look completely different than what it did last year. Does the whole fan base seem to be pretty excited about that?
Yeah, they definitely are. I mean, if he just does the little things that should have been done, like having a hot route when somebody's blitzing Jalen Hurts, utilizing slants and things like that. I mean, if he just does the basic things, because the players, even today, like Devontae Smith was saying that, they had to do things they didn't want to do. And in fact, even late in the season, like against the Seahawks late in the year, the receivers went rogue and just went against what the offensive, play caller and Brian Johnson was telling them to do. And they just started doing their own plays. So I think it's a very welcomed addition. I think it's been something that the fan base was angry at for half the season last year. Even when they were 10-1, they were not happy with the play calling.
Do you remember that little that quick screen on 3rd and 20?
Yes.
Yeah, I hate to bring that back, but go along with your point.
All right, I got a question.
Yes.
How does Howie do this every year? I feel like every year the defensive players slide in the draft, and the Eagles always pick them up. It was Mitchell. It was DeJean. It's like, how do these guys always fall? Carter's the year before. It's like Eagles always get these guys, always kill in the draft defense.
It's like he prioritizes the opposite of what the league's doing. Like the first 15 picks in the draft were offense, if my memory serves right, which was the most historically, I think, ever in the draft. So he goes out and he finds offensive players like Saquon, like A.J. Brown, and he re-ups people like he has with Mailata and Landon Dickerson and Devontae Smith. And he focuses on the draft with all defensive players. That's what he's done with his high picks the past few years. And I think that's how he's winning that, because he's going against the grain. Everybody else is, prioritizing offensive players with their high value picks there. And he's been doing the opposite. And that's how he's gotten away with getting like Jalen Carter and Quinyon, like you mentioned, and Jordan Davis a couple years back.
Mm-hmm. What is Jalen Carter's nickname? So like Muscle Rhino or something?
Baby Rhino.
Baby Rhino. There it is. Yeah. That's awesome. Are you happy with those first 2 picks? I know the cornerback room was kind of shaky. The second
absolutely, yeah. I had like pounded the table for Terry and Arnold all offseason, but I had him as 1A and Quinyon as 1B. I just had Terry on a little higher because he's a couple years younger, played in a bigger program. Sometimes guys coming from smaller schools, you don't necessarily know what you're getting all the time. But Quinyon really proved himself at the Senior Bowl, playing against the top competition. Cooper DeJean, I don't know how he fell there. I thought that he'd probably be a first-round pick, and when he kept falling, I thought somebody was going to get a great player, but I didn't necessarily think it was going to be the Eagles because they had already invested in Quinion. So I was a little surprised by that pick, but I think it was a very shrewd move by him. And yeah, the defensive backs have been horrible. They were like 31st in the league last year. It definitely was the Achilles heel of the team.
And I think the big thing for this year is Jalen Hurts. You know, had an incredible season year before. Last year, pretty of a down season. It was injuries, whatever it was. Obviously, he still had tush push, all that was boosting stats, but a lot of turnovers last year. And obviously, chemistry, I don't know how much was issue with A.J. Brown, which seemed to be a thing in the news second half of last year. But you expecting a bounce?
Tush push is real football, by the way. If you want to go to football to its roots, just my strong guys against your strong guys, that's real football.
Yeah, it probably evolved from like rugby plays, but so did a lot of the NFL in general. But yeah, it is a big season for Jalen Hurts to bounce back. I do think the injury played a part. I don't know how much of it was, you know, personality with AJ Brown. I think they are very close, and they probably have little spats and stuff the way brothers can and get over it. And it probably looks worse on television than it actually is playing out on the team. Brian Johnson, his offensive coordinator, somebody he respected. I think it was very hard for him to go against him because he'd known him since he was a child. And I just don't think that worked out too well for them. I think the play calling was really bad. And he had just got his big contract. Some people think he wore himself too thin as far as all of the extracurricular things he was doing, like promoting things. You know, nothing bad, just everything he was out there doing, just that took up a lot of his time.
Gotcha.
And, you know, with Kellen Moore coming in and flooring a new offense, from what it sounds like, maybe these guys are just warming up, but it sounds like, you know, he's putting these weapons all over the field. You might see A.J. Brown in the slot. You might see Saquon Barkley out wide. You got all these different weapons, and it certainly looks like he wants to move them all over the field, use them, and just, I mean, I'm not a Philly fan, but if I was, I'd be very excited about that. Just like what Saquon said a couple weeks ago, you know, we got in that 7-on-7 huddle, and he was like, wow, this is probably the best, most talented group of guys I've ever been around. So I expect big things from Philly this year. I think they're going to win the division, and I think they're going to look a lot like they looked 2 years ago. Jalen Hurts' rushing is going to come back as long as he stays healthy. Although the schedule is pretty tough, there's a lot of quality teams in there. You guys play the AFC North this year. So that's, you know, that's going to be 4 tough games not right off the bat, but just at first glance. I know the schedule was tough last year. The second half of the season, a lot of those, you know, the games against Buffalo, Kansas City, I don't remember who else was in there, but I remember there was a slate of games.
Yeah, the Niners, Dallas, like 4 games in a row there.
This one's pretty tough too this year, but I trust Philly this year. I like you guys a lot, especially with the changes on offense. I think a big bounce back year.
Yeah, I think conditioning will play a big role. I think that was part of the problem that happened last year. A lot of these guys just got worn down really quick. This year, you mentioned the schedule that they have the bye week after like week 5 or week 6, which is not that great of a
it's
time for the bye there.
5,
yeah. I think health is going to, like you mentioned, will probably play one of the larger roles here. I think from a talent standpoint, I can't think of a time that they've had more offensive weapons than they have here. I mean, adding Saquon to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and a mobile Jalen Hurts, assuming he's healthy. I mean, it just probably is the best offense I can remember them having, even during their, you know, historic run in 2022. I still think this offense is probably better.
That week 5 bye week might help out a little bit, though. You start the season in Brazil, then you go to Philly, then New Orleans, then Tampa. But one that early is pretty tough to deal with no matter what. My last question, and then I don't know, Kerry, if you want to ask a little more, but has anybody emerged as the wide receiver 3 on that team? I know you got Smitty and A.J. Brown 2 and 1.
They had the ghost of Julio last season.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming down to Paris Campbell and the newly signed John Ross. The draft pick, Aeneas Smith, it doesn't look like he's quite ready. He kind of was a little banged up when the college season ended. But if I had to guess today, it'd be probably Paris Campbell would probably be their wide receiver 3.
I would say so as well. And actually, just one more question popped in my head when we were talking about that. Other side of the ball, defensive backfield. One thing I haven't been following at all is Justin Simmons, but I feel like he might be a good fit in Philly. Is that something the fan base or anybody you've heard any smoke on that? Or
Yeah, they call for him every single day on social media. Just his connection with Fangio. Yeah, they definitely want him. I like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Getting him back was really good. Reed Blankenship, he's a good player, and I like him, but I'd like him a lot more if he was the safety 3 and they had Justin Simmons over there for a year or two. The longer this plays out, it could work in their favor to maybe get a 1 or some sort of cheaper 2-year deal.
All right. We're going to do a little segment with you. Rapid fire questions. I don't want you to think about these. Just first answer pop off to your head. All right.
All right.
If you could be friends with any player on the Eagles, who'd it be?
Current player.
Yeah.
Probably Devontae Smith.
All right.
He's one of the more cooler guys, laid back dudes, very humble. I really like his vibe.
All right. Best move of the offseason.
Saquon.
Worst move of the offseason.
Not getting rid of James Bradbury.
Grade your team's draft.
Probably a B.
What is the Eagles' biggest weakness heading into next season?
Their linebacking core.
Biggest strength.
Wide receivers.
Team MVP for 2024.
It better be Jalen Hurts.
Hope so.
Yeah.
And then one surprising and one disappointing player for 2024.
Surprising player would be Isaiah Rodgers, the cornerback who was suspended for a year. I think he has a really good chance to end up playing opposite Darius Slay, and they can kind of bring Quignon in, sprinkle him in a little bit. I think that would be a really big bonus for them if they were able to do that. Biggest, what'd you say, disappointment?
Yep.
In the offense, I think it might be Dallas Goedert. I think he could be the forgotten guy, and he has to be in on blocking a lot more. They have, so many receiving options with everybody else out there. I don't know that he's going to see as many balls as he's used to doing. He might be in, doing more pass protection than he was, and he's really good at that. But
definitely, after his injury last year, they went so long without him last year. They used to.
Yeah.
All right, and then your projected division standings for the NFC East. What do you think at the end of the year? What are the rankings will be
for all 4 teams?
Yep.
I do think the Eagles will win the division. I think it'll be close. You want me to give win totals or just
just where they'll end up?
Yeah, I think the Eagles will be first in the division. I think that the Cowboys will be second. Third, I probably will give it to the Giants just because I'm untrusting of a rookie quarterback there in Washington. But so that'd probably be the way I'd go.
All right, and the last one, Eagles record for 2024.
12-5.
Ooh, I like it.
Well, thanks for coming on, David.
Thanks for having me.
People can find you again
at PHL Eagle News, and you can find any of my written work at Metro Philly or Philadelphia SN on PhillySportsNetwork.com.
All right, thanks so much.
What place got the best Philly cheesesteak?
Who has it?
Yeah.
Jim's Steak.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Good luck to you and your Eagles this year.
Yeah, thank you guys, man. I enjoyed being on here. Nice meeting you guys. Y'all take care.
You too.
Right. Hopefully we'll see you again. Go Birds.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So they finished first in the division, but it's our third guest. I don't know how that makes sense. I don't know who scheduled that. But Gary, feel welcome our Cowboys guest to the stage. I'd love to talk some of America's teams. I got a lot to say about Dallas.
Oh.
Awesome, man. Glad to be here. Hope everybody's doing fantastic on this lovely Tuesday.
First of all, where can people find you? Not your address or anything, but
yeah. Right. So basically, you want to sign over Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it these days. You can follow me at your guy Nix, your_guy_NIX. And then on YouTube, you can check me and the crew out, Pick Six Sports. We break down and cover everything's Cowboys.
Sounds good.
All
Pretty
right.
simple,
Well,
straight to the
I got
point.
something. I want to start off kind of hot
right.
because it's been like a week, I think, since he said this. You know, we had the news breaking that Dak said, "I don't play for money," which, you know, might mean that he might take less in order to retain Mike Parsons, in order to retain CeeDee Lamb, which would definitely help out Cowboys Nation. Should Dak do that? Is that kind of where the signs are pointing, or do you think that's just what you gotta say?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great, right, at the end of the day. And, you know, I get what he's saying. He's like, look, they're the business people don't decide what my value is. I'm playing the game to play the game, trying to get this team ready for this season. Yeah, this isn't, to me anyways, it's not going to be a situation where, okay, he's going to take a 5-6 year deal, spread the money out. No, I would imagine he's going to land. I mean, you see where Goff kind of came in. He's going to get more than Goff. I'll probably circle around $55 million per year over 4 years. That's kind of where we're at.
That just sounds insane, man.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, after the year he had, you know, stats is only one side of the story, but he threw 36 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions. Season before, everybody was saying, "Oh, he's a turnover machine," just like Kerry did. This guy, just like Zach, and then you guys had to buy me beer because he had less than double-digit interceptions, and I won that bet. So shout out to Dak.
Covering them bets, it's always a good day.
How do you guys feel about sticking on the offensive side of the ball, losing Tony Pollard?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
How can you go into the season, the Cowboys fans, with how little they did this offseason? Like, do you still have hope? Just probably one of the worst off seasons you could have. I mean, who was the biggest name they added? Eric Kendricks.
Kendricks.
Kind of a couple guys drafted, but that was about it. Do you have faith you had last year?
You know, I mean, here's the thing where, no, I think you'd like to see the team do more because, you've been 12-5 for 3 straight years. You're kind of building up in the playoffs. And then you had what happened, this past January and kind of reset the room a little bit of the projection you were on. Where it's at now, though, what we have to understand still is that this is a very good roster. You're still returning, 7 All-Pros, right? You didn't keep Tyron Smith, obviously, but you're bringing back 7 All-Pros. So the core of this team, right, the meat and potatoes of this team that's been 12-5 the last 3 years is still here. So, no, is it, where are you at, where it's going to be as far as they're going to win 12 or win the division again? Maybe not. But, boy, it's hard-pressed to say they won't win 10 as long as the quarterback's setting up right. And you are getting an Overshown back that didn't play none last year. You are getting a Trayvon Diggs back that only played, 2 games last year then before he got hurt prior to the Arizona game. So, from a roster standpoint, they're still in a very good position, but you would like to see them try to go sew some things up a little bit more in free agency to try to really push it, push the chips in and, try to get over the playoff hump. Unfortunately, that's just not where it landed for this front office.
Sure. I feel like the one thing that really I saw a lot of people complaining about, which is the running back room. I mean, Tony Pollard had a disappointing year last year, but
right.
It's like bringing Zeke. I'm a Patriots fan. Zeke did great with Patriots last year, but Zeke is your number one option. And Royce Freeman, Deuce Vaughn. It's not like these are scary options. With Cowboys have been known for the running game in the past.
Right.
Do you think someone's going to step up?
Yeah. So I mean, Paul finished. I think it was 12th in the league last year, just a smidge over 1,000 yards. A little bit of a combination of things. Maybe he wasn't quite right from the injury that he suffered against San Francisco the prior playoffs going into the season, but also too, they went to a new blocking scheme with Mike Solari coming in here and switching to a more of a zone scheme. And what they want to do is some inside trap. If you're really familiar with, Schottenheimer coming in and taking over as the coordinator. And I'll be honest with you, man, just the blocking scheme wasn't good enough last year. Hence why they would have been okay keeping Tyron Smith, but they were not. There's a certain amount of money they wanted to allocate towards that, and another reason why Tyron Biadasz left the room as well, because we just didn't have enough in the blocking, particularly from the center position. So where they're at in drafting 3 offensive linemen this year is, look, we're going to go with committee, and if we can fix the run scheme from the blocking side of things, then the run game should be able to take care of itself. because it doesn't matter who you have back there. If you can't block it up, you're not going to be able to run it. And that's kind of some of the situation that happened for Pollard last year. We just couldn't block it up well enough, which turned into Dak having to play a lot of hero ball, which pushed him up to being, the second in MVP voting and whatnot. So, yeah, there's, it's not like Zeke. I think where a lot of Cowboys fans are, some are excited, obviously, and some are very, standoffish because they're thinking, well, they're going to turn around and get the ball to Zeke 20, 25 times. That's not going to be the situation. It's going to be a committee. We have Stu Connor in the building, obviously, undrafted kid out of Missouri from P. As you mentioned, the other three, you brought back Rico Dowdle. Malik Davis is on the practice squad. So, it's a combination of these guys are all going to be bad. Look, Zeke will be here, right? Period, point blank. Zeke will be here for this season. Outside of that, you're going to battle not only what's on this roster, but you're going to battle like if the Izzy out of the Jets becomes available. And, the guys that are not on the roster, they might look to bring in here. So, yeah, it's going to be a different temperament by the committee stuff that hasn't really been the wave for the Cowboys in a long time. But their idea of fixing the run game is by fixing the blocking.
Right.
And I did see they were working out Deuce Vaughn at slot receiver today, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, they actually they've been working with him for over a month now with that. They basically locked him in a room and put on what's our guy? Cole Beasley. They put on the Cole Beasley tape, and that's who they've had him study. And this isn't new for Mike McCarthy. This time of the year before they get to training camp, they like to anything they're going to experiment and really try. They do that right now and see if there's any meat on the bone. And then if it's something they think that's got some traction, then they'll carry that over to training camp out in Oxnard. So I'm not surprised by it. And again, you're trying to find a guy that you drafted last year, had minimal snaps and whatnot. So you're trying to find a role, how you can utilize what his skill set is. Obviously, if you get Deuce Vaughn into space, that's where you can create. And that's what they're looking for right now. It's interesting to see what they're doing there. But again, let me see them actually continue to do it in Oxnard. Then I think we can kind of sink our teeth into it.
And one off note before Trevor goes in. I just want to say Jake Ferguson. I love Jake Ferguson last year.
Sure.
I really think he's a great tight end. He really had a great second half, and I think he'll even do more this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I loved him coming out of Wisconsin and doing my draft work on him. I liked him a lot. Then he got down to the Senior Bowl, and I saw some other things that Wisconsin, the scheme didn't allow him to do, high point balls, doing certain things. So I was excited to get him in here. And, I remember his rookie year, I said, look, I know Schultz is here. I said, but he's going to start off on this roster, probably be the fourth or fifth tight end. I said, by the time we get to regular season, he'll be number 2. And sure enough, he was his rookie season. He builds on that last year by all metrics and what he did, yardage, everything. He was a top 10 tight end last year. So I think there's a chance here. A lot of it was between 7th and 9th. I think there's an opportunity at how this thing's growing where, he won't be the best tight end in the league, but I think there's opportunity for him to have a season where he's a top 5 tight end. So it'll be interesting to see him and we talk about rookies, typically year 3 is where they really explode as well too. They've been in the league long enough now. They understand the game. They've been in some offseason programs. So I'm expecting a big year from Fergie.
Definitely. And yeah, Jason Witten Jr. on your hands. Not a bad thing to have.
No, not at all. He can block a little bit better.
Yes.
Wisconsin is supposed to be a blocker. We need to block a little bit better, but outside of that, we'll take what he's bringing us.
Is this Jalen Tolbert's third year, or is this his second year?
No, this will be his third year.
Third? How are you guys feeling about him?
It's a split room. He came on a little bit last year. If you kind of go look at the splits, the last half of the season, he was actually getting more snaps than Gallup during the games. However, Gallup was still getting the lion's share of the actual receiving stuff, right? So it was a situation where he was kind of the wash. And the Cowboys, they traded away Cooper. They drafted him. Stephen Jones on the radio right the day they're going to Oxnard. And he's going to camp as our number 2. Too much pressure on the kid early. He did a lot of good work last year, got his mind right, and he definitely showed some growth. And now we're into year 3. He's definitely added some more muscle. It's a big year for him, because the third spot right now is wide open between him. And, of course, Jalen Brooks is another big favorite. And that's the guy we drafted last year in the 7th round out of South Carolina. So, yeah, that's the Jalen versus Jalen is really going to heat up at Oxnard for that number 3 position. But as a number 3 wide receiver, when I tell people a lot what's interesting, last year, Jake Ferguson was the number 2 target. He was kind of the second option. I know it's tight end, not wide receiver, right? But he had over 100 targets last year. I think what the Cowboys need to see this year is more from Brandon Cooks in this offense. and kind of articulate it from there. But there's a reason why they brought in Zay Jones, right? Obviously, they get the deal done, but my ears kind of perked up when they brought in Zay. I said, "Oh, that's interesting." But what they have with Tolbert, so yeah, man, it's a huge training camp for him in year 3 because again, he's only got another year left on his deal. He hasn't solidified a spot yet on this team after being a former 3rd-round pick. So big training camp for him in this camp battle for the number 3 spot.
A couple other questions I have for you. I know you talked about the draft a little bit, and I meant to ask you when you were talking about it, but Carrie wouldn't shut up.
Wow.
Cooper Beebe, I love that pick. And like you were talking about the 3 offensive linemen, drafting one in the 1st and the 3rd. I just wanted to say I think that's a really solid pick. Falling all the way to 73 was kind of shocking for me. And second question I had was, well, I guess that was just a statement. First question I have kind of goes back to a draft, 2021 draft, 3rd overall pick. Do you feel anything about Trey Lance? Could there be anything there?
I mean, the hope is that he can beat out Cooper Rush to be your number 2, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. Can you upgrade
Nothing else?
your right? I don't think he's going. No, he's not going to beat out Dak or have a real opportunity here to supplant Dak. Dak's deal will get done here as soon as training camp gets here. But I mean, again, what you're looking for, and I said this when we first got him. Prior to last year, right? Dak had missed time. Okay, well, where's it going to be at? Is he going to stay healthy? And look, no disrespect to Cooper Rush, right? And Cooper Rush, we know he's 5-1 and what he's been able to do in the backup role. But look, he doesn't have an NFL arm, if we're being honest, right? And then number 2, whenever you go from Dak to him, you have to kind of trim down what you're doing in the playbook as compared to Trey Lance. You can kind of keep that playbook more open. So realistically, in Cowboy land, it's, hey, let's go out here, let's go win the number 2 spot and have a more solidified backup when it comes to that and move forward. And, we'll see what happens if he leaves next year. They did pick up the 5th-year option. What kind of comp pick can you get back for him and move forward?
Is that a competition though? Really, I haven't really looked at for QB2, or is Rush kind of set in for this year, or it could be up for grabs?
Well, they're both on the last year of their contract.
True.
Right. And for all intents and purposes, I mean, this is going to be the Trey Lance highlight package. He's going to get a ton of work, and obviously for a multitude of reasons, not to just be the number 2. But hey, what if somebody picks up the phone and wants to pick him up and you can, get a pick back, right? Or, hey, you want to make sure there's enough good tape out there when he hits free agency that somebody wants to take a chance on him, right? That ups your comp pick and different things you can do. So, they're going to, I mean, obviously they invested a 4th-round pick, and the most that you got for him last year was an emergency quarterback. And then, what they did with him to create reps for him last year was 3 hours before every single game, they would go out there and have him throw and go through and work through the game plan and stuff like that. So they found a creative way to get him reps, right? Because that's the biggest thing they talk about when it comes to Trey Lance. He doesn't have a ton of reps, from high school, college into the NFL. So they found ways to create reps, and now he's going to have every opportunity here. Preseason and whatnot, he's going to get the lion's share of all that work.
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about those 2 quarterbacks and how their contracts are both about to expire. Kind of brought me to just like a short little list I have here. I'm going to say a name if you just want to say Cowboy or no Cowboy, if you think they'll return to the team or maybe go somewhere else. Starting off with Jack, pretty easy. Yeah. It's a Cowboy, right?
Cowboy. Right, Cowboy.
Zach Martin.
That's 50-50. I look, he's been on the retirement thing for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
So it's not going to surprise me if he retires after this season. And look, right, and there's the ties that bond, right? You got a TJ Bass last year, what he was able to do as an undrafted guy, which I thought he should have got drafted out of Oregon at guard. Well, then you go draft 3 offensive linemen this year, right? So I think they're preparing for him to retire after this year. And he said it can. He's not 100% saying he's retiring, but, he's all in on this season, kind of goes from there. So I just remember, 2 years ago in Oxnard, he said, my wife's ready for me to come home. So he's on the cusp of retiring for sure.
I think Cooper Beebe would be nice to step in. But next, DeMarcus Lawrence.
I think he's gone.
Brandon
last
Cooks.
year. Last year.
CeeDee Lamb.
Cowboy.
Osa Odigizua. Wow. Odigizua.
Yeah. Odigizua. Osa Odigizua. Or just call him Odiggy. Yeah, the Odiggy Zua. Franchise tag.
Oh, okay. Trey Lance and Cooper Rush.
Both gone.
All right, in a scenario that Dak leaves, who is the Cowboys quarterback next year?
It would be draft and go sign a bridge gap guy.
All right, actually, I haven't brought this up to a Cowboys fan before. I had a crazy theory this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
They bring in the Sanders.
Oh,
Do you
Lord.
hate that?
I mean, it's box office, right? You know,
that's what I thought. It was like,
you know, the brand would be on fire. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I don't know. I don't know if Deion. It's intriguing where Deion is, right? Like he said, he just wants to be a college coach. But I mean, if you could continue to coach his son, if you come back to Dallas, his home, would that intrigue him? What would that look like? What's the buyout on his contract if they wanted to make the move? So it would be intriguing. I would say a 2% chance. How about 2.1 for a 21? 2.1% chance.
all right, we're going to play a little game of rapid fire questions with you.
Sure.
So I don't want you to think. Just first answer that pops off your head, and we go through these questions. All right. If you could be friends with any player in the Cowboys, who would it be?
I'm a former tight end, Ferguson, all day.
All right. Best move of the offseason.
Kendricks is the only move.
Yeah. Worst move of the offseason.
Not adding another defensive tackle. Is that fair? Can I say that?
Yeah, that's fair.
we are so depleted in defensive tackle. My goodness.
All right, grade the Cowboys draft.
B-.
Biggest team weakness heading into next season.
Oh, defensive tackle for sure. Yeah, boy, man, I'm talking. Look, you got Mozzie trying to get back up to weight. He's only 305, and he's not practicing with the shoulder. Odiggy Zua, who's out with a hip right now, which leaves you with a 7th-round draft pick, a rookie free agent, and a Carl Davis from the practice squad. Yeah, defensive tackle for sure. Jesus.
That's rough. All right, how about biggest strength for 2024?
Biggest strength? I mean, man, you're getting Diggs back and what Bland's brought to the table. Well, those cornerbacks, man. I mean, that looks pretty awesome. Yeah, I'll probably say the cornerback room. And, of course, Jordan Lewis, who, the last half of the year after coming back from the injury was a top 10 slot corner. So, yeah, cornerback for sure.
Yeah, you guys brought back a lot of corners this offseason.
Yeah, they have a good cornerback room. All right, team MVP for 2024.
I don't have to be Dak.
Fair. All right, one surprising and one disappointing player for 2024.
Surprising player. I'm gonna go with Sam Williams because he's the guy often maligned. He was a 2nd-round pick. It's kind of been and out. Where's he at? He's got the opportunity now with 2 defensive ends gone. So let me give a surprising guy, Sam Williams. Disappointing guy, boy, man, I'm cheering for the kid. And he got a check, but boy, Terrence Steele coming back from that injury last year wasn't good. And at right tackle, boy, you really wanted to be good. I'm a little worried about Steele making it back.
All right, last 2. Projected division standings. No record or anything, just how you think the teams are going to end up in the NFC East.
I think it's going to be Eagles, Cowboys, Washington, Giants.
All right. And the last one, projected record for the Cowboys in 2024.
Yeah, I think they're minimum 10-win team. I think the ceiling's 11 wins for them. 10 to 11 wins. I think that's where I got them at.
There you go.
I have them at 10 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor, should we ask Zach's question because we forgot to just honor him?
Question all night. Nobody wants to talk about the Jaguars. He's not here.
Let's do it. Our third host is not here tonight. Let's do it. He's a Jaguars fan. He forces us to ask every guest, what do you think the Jaguars record will be this year? Because nobody cares about Jaguars. So, any guess?
Sure. Look, they got the right coach in place, right? In Peterson. So you see what he's able to do and how he's able to do things. But boy, that division got really, really tough really quick, didn't it? I'm gonna give him 9 wins.
That's fair. All right, Trevor, you got anything else?
I don't think so, man. We them boys.
We them boys. All right, thanks.
We hope.
Thanks so much for coming tonight.
No, anytime, guys. Appreciate you, fellas.
You want to plug where you can find you again?
Yeah, man, real quick, man. Hey, your guy Nix, your _guy _Nix, NIX over there on the Twitterverse. Man, I got a TikTok, but I don't know. I'll leave it to you young fellas. I don't know if I can really I'm trying to find my lane in the TikTok world. And then of course on YouTube, Pick Six Sports, the number 6 there. You catch me, Don, Spoonie, and I got Professor O, aka Matt Owen, over there, and we're covering the Cowboys. We're about to start our training camp series. We do it every year. And we do
I think we've had Matt Owen on here before, actually.
Awesome. Yeah, good guy. Smart guy. Analytics, boy. I tell you, he's got it down pat. But, we're about to start our series, positional breakdown. So we go through every single position, break down the depth, where it's at, and what they need to accomplish during training camp. So it's always a fun time.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Good luck to you and your Cowboys.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man. You have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks.
All right, Trevor, you ready for the most exciting team in the NFC East?
Oh, I thought we were done, bro.
No, man. We still got – I opened a Corona. I got like half of a Corona left. We got to finish it out, bud.
Let me show you something.
We need to do our projected records for the NFC East also before we end.
This is my Cowboys notes.
Sure.
No, that's my Eagles notes. This is my Cowboys notes. These are my Giants notes.
Sure.
These notes.
3 lines. Wow.
Nothing. We could talk about Jaden
Sure.
Daniels.
Yeah, you love Jaden Daniels.
What are we going to talk about, man?
You love Jaden Daniels, though.
Listen, man, there's certain things. First of all, I don't love Jaden Daniels.
Sure. You did last year.
I hardly even love myself, man.
Wow. Well, this is getting deep.
I'm just kidding. But, I liked him at LSU. He was cooking. He looked amazing. But, like,
I
he
feel
had
like
a lot of help around him. He was able to flourish. I don't know, man. He's a good player. He's electric. But, like, he's one of those guys where I think, like, I don't know. It's like he could run fast, but he can't run fast if there's weights in his hands. You know what I'm saying?
sure. I feel like honestly, like a lot of people might hate on their weapons, but I feel like he's weapons like Austin Eckler is an easy running back for rookie. Just dump it off to him.
True. Austin Eckler.
Brian Robinson is good, right? He's an underrated running back. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. I feel like McCaffrey will be a solid slot guy, and they have the
McCaffrey. I don't think so.
Yeah, as a third slot guy, they still have Jamison Crowder. I didn't even know he's still in the NFL anymore.
You remember Santana Moss used to follow me on Twitter?
Really?
What about Anton Randall? You remember him?
Yes, I do.
Dude, I thought Pierre Garçon was going to be so good that one year in fantasy. But did nothing. I think his first year on the Colts.
I feel like this is the worst.
Yeah, I mean, he's got weapons, but
this defense, and I feel like this line isn't much better than it was last year. And it wasn't good. It was a terrible line last year. They brought in
rookie quarterbacks is really going to be a bust in their rookie season. It pains me to say it, but it's going to be Jaden Daniels. And the only reason I said that is so I can make it a clip, put it on Twitter.
Wow.
But
I do feel like, but like Caleb Williams, I don't think is going to struggle as much. I think we all agree with the weapons he has, the talent he has.
He's not hitting baseball?
Yeah.
It didn't look that gay to me.
He's gay. But
I don't think so, bro.
I don't know.
Doesn't he have a girlfriend?
Does that mean anything?
Okay, let me ask you something. If a girl put something, never mind. All right, let's talk about football. Man.
Let's do it. But like, obviously, JJ McCarthy has the weapons if he plays this year. I feel like Bo Nix is pro ready, and like I don't think Drake May is gonna play. So I feel like if anyone's gonna be bust, it's gonna be him. You know.
Yeah,
just for this year alone.
Player, man. And another thing is, he's a player that I think is like gonna. He also shouldn't start right away, and I really wish he would have went to a better situation. I wish he would have went to New England, where at least there's an offensive line that can protect him, some running backs that can take the load off of him.
He would have sat for a year in New England too, which I think would have been better for him.
Yeah, and
they're not going to start Marcus Mariota.
A hard year in Washington. A bad year in Washington, dude, is honestly 2 wins. Like, worst case scenario, these guys are winning like 2 games this year.
Do you see the RG3 Kirk Cousins scenario again? Where we get,
my memory isn't
Jaden Daniels and Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman ends up being better than Jaden Daniels.
Oh, I forgot there.
That'd be funny. He's QB4 right now, though.
Who's
He's behind Trevor Scott, favorite player Jeff Driscoll's quarterback 3.
Yes, dude. He's the
Legend.
reason I started wearing jorts.
All right, here's another thing I've seen on Patriots Twitter lately. What are your thoughts on this?
Patriots have a Twitter?
They do, unfortunately. The Commanders took Emmanuel Forbes over Christian Gonzalez last year, which everybody seems to think was a mistake. Would you agree?
No.
You'd rather have Emmanuel Forbes than Christian Gonzalez?
Emmanuel Forbes played good at the beginning of the season. Christian Gonzalez hasn't played yet.
Christian Gonzalez had a – what? Emmanuel Forbes was terrible last year.
I mean, but Christian Gonzalez was even worse. He didn't do anything.
Christian Gonzalez shut down like top 5 receivers.
I thought he didn't play the whole year.
No, remember he played like 5 games and he shut down like Tyreek Hill and a bunch of other receivers. He was like one of the highest graded.
At the beginning.
Yeah. And is it going to be the same thing?
One?
My point is the Commanders made the wrong choice last year going over the Patriots.
I did see that picture of Forbes with a high schooler.
Are they going to make this? What are you even talking about?
Right.
Are they going to make the same wrong decision with taking Daniels over May?
I feel like whoever's going to be in Washington at quarterback is going to get hit a lot this year. And Drake May has a better body for getting hit than Jaden Daniels.
All right, we're at the point that Trevor's just lost, man.
That makes sense, bro.
I guess, dude.
Right, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being gay, but don't be gay when we talk about
it is a Pride Month. All right.
Listen, I want to say, if you're drinking High Noons, get the tequila ones, not the vodka ones.
I didn't know they even had tequila ones.
They're way better, dude.
We need Zach on this podcast to keep us like straight.
No,
not in that way.
Zach, bro, shout out to Zach. The Bachelor.
All right, Trevor, let's run through the rapid fire questions for the Commanders.
A couple minutes ago.
I don't even know, dude.
For the body thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the hot Cheeto girl.
What are you talking about?
All right, go ahead. Ask me rapid fire.
All right, Trevor, if you could be friends with any one of the Commanders, who would it be?
Wow, that's a terrible question. Dan Quinn.
Player on the Commanders.
This is rapid fire?
Sure, man.
Has to be a current player?
Yeah, it could be Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert.
Yeah, we talked shit about Justin Herbert together. Give me Austin Eckler.
All right, what do you think was their best move of the offseason? If you can think of a best move. I really like the Eckler one. I feel like Eckler will be good for Jaden Daniels.
Quarterback helper, but it's getting the Heisman winner is better.
What do you think was their worst move of the offseason? I don't know why this team brought in Zach Ertz. That man is like 40 years old and halfway dead.
But a tight end is good for a rookie quarterback.
For Zach Ertz, he's so old.
What is their best move of the offseason? Probably
when did they get Bobby Wagner? Did you know Bobby Wagner's on the Commanders? That is interesting.
Their best move of the offseason was they did enough to where people are talking about football again, not racial issues. When it comes to,
man.
You know, I looked up what the R word means today, and that's
what are you doing, man?
Go ahead. What's the next question?
All right, I'm going to pee. Answer this while I'm peeing. What grade? I don't think you know who they took, but did you like any of their draft picks, and what grade would you give them?
Wait, Kerry.
What?
I don't know their draft pick, man. You got to ask me something else to talk about.
All right, what is their biggest weakness heading into 2024?
Honestly, bro, it's swagger. Like, at some point, you got to have some players that at least, like, the fans believe in. Like, not Bryn Forbes, that's a basketball player. Emmanuel Forbes was talking his shit. He was cool. And then he got humbled by A.J. Brown. So, like, he's not selling jerseys no more. You got to buy a Washington Commanders jersey. It's either A, a player that has never played before in Jaden Daniels, or B, I don't even know, bro. Like, if you're not buying a Jaden Daniels jersey, what jersey are you buying? Terry McLaurin? He's not going to be there 2 years from now. Trust me. I'm going to make that a graphic too on Twitter. Terry McLaurin's not 2 years. But honestly, there's just no players with, like, swag.
If anyone is listening to this still, I know Trevor just shouted nonsense for the last, 2 minutes.
No, that was a real answer.
All right.
What's the next question?
Biggest strength for this team heading into next year. That is a tough one, honest. I'm going to say their running game. Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson is a really good duo. Brian Robinson,
No,
early
it's
down
not,
back.
bro. Are you kidding me?
It's not?
Say those two names again, Kerry.
Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler.
You said that's a very good running back room. What are you, nuts?
I
What year do you think it is?
Brian Robinson was really good last year.
Really good? Was he?
Yeah.
What do you mean by really good?
For Washington Commanders running back standards. He averaged 4
Yeah.
yards. He had 732 yards.
Good for Washington standards. Great, man. I don't think this team had their biggest strength is their linebackers. And that's their only strength.
Frankie Louvu. With the ghost of Bobby Wagner. Their D-line is still okay. Yeah, this might be the worst team in the NFL. This is not going to be a good team. Sorry, Commanders fans, if you exist. I still don't have any proof there is Commanders fans. If there was Commanders fans, we'd probably have a guest right now.
You remember that one time we did the off-season grades?
Yeah.
I put a video for every team except the Commanders because I just didn't care. And there was actually 5 people that were like, why didn't you do a video for the Commanders? So I was like, damn, I didn't know you guys existed, but apparently they do exist.
We would probably have Commanders guests on this podcast if it mattered.
You ever been to the Capitol?
I have.
Oh, by the way, never mind. I'll tell you later when we're not talking about the Commanders.
All right. Couple more. Team MVP for 2024, Trevor. I'm gonna go with Austin Eckler again.
I'm not.
He's gonna get 100 catches for 600 yards. Really?
Yeah.
Even with Daniels?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, all right. At least you're positive. One surprising, one disappointing player.
Surprising. I think Bobby Wagner will be straight. Disappointing. Emmanuel Forbes will need to play the Eagles. I think both games, A.J. Brown is going to go for over 110 yards.
All right. For surprising, disappointing, I think Luke McCaffrey's going to be good. Just throw a little white guy on the slot. He's going to get a lot of catches. Disappointing, I think Bobby Wagner is going to be washed, unfortunately. I think he's cooked. The era is over, sadly, Trevor. All right. Now, I don't want to talk about the Commanders anymore. You ready to wrap up this division, Trevor?
Please, bro.
All right. Give your final standings for the NFC East and record predictions.
I was actually doing that right now. The only team that I actually finished was the Giants. The Cowboys. I went all the way through their schedule and put them at 10-7, which actually kind of gives me a good meter of where I'm going to put the other teams. I don't know how many wins I want to give the Eagles. They have a lot of winnable games in the first half of their season. They have 3 difficult games, but 3 games I could see them winning. Week 1 against Green Bay in Brazil. Week 6, home versus Cleveland. And then Week 8 at Cincinnati. I think it's not even bad. If you go 2-1 in those games, you're feeling pretty good. So I'll actually give them 12-5. I'll give the Cowboys 10-7. I'll give the Giants 7-10. I want to give the Giants 8-9. I'm going to give them 7-10. And I'm going to give the Commanders 5 wins because I'm feeling good tonight. But I could see 4 or 3.
All right. I'm going to say the Eagles. I'm going to say the Eagles take the division 11-6. Cowboys 9-8. Sadly, the Giants go third 6-11. And sadly, Commanders, the worst team in the NFC, 3-14. Unfortunately.
Can you say that again so I can write it down?
I got the Eagles winning the division 11-6, the Cowboys at 9-8. I got the Giants at 6-11, and the Commanders at 3-14. One of the worst divisions in the NFL in 2023.
I wouldn't say that.
The Commanders aren't good. The Giants aren't good. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be mediocre. We'll see.
The Giants will be competitive, I think. You know, their defensive line is elite.
Yeah, if only he had a quarterback.
Well, we don't know what Daniel Jones is going to look like. Not that I trust him, but
True.
that's all. I mean, I really got to pee, man. You got anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I'm ready. We can see rapid fire tonight. We don't got Zach. We're crying in our hearts. We're at 1:20. I think we're good for if anybody's still listening.
This has been the NFC East, and for Beerly Carey and all three of our guests tonight, this has been the Beerly Football Podcast. Have a good night. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Has it stopped?
No.
Oh.